Hi everybody and Happy New Year's to all of you. Welcome to the first Equity Markets commentary for 2011. On the screen here we have the Russell contract and we have the monthly chart. Now what we identified here, if you were following the videos at the end of 2010, we were identifying major resistance levels that we were approaching as the market came higher. And based on the monthly chart, we'd noticed just a bit of a zone through here, around about 800, being a big number, but being some resistance up there on the chart as well, where we expected price might run into some resistance. That was about, the main thing we were assessing on the monthly chart, as well as the fact that now we have started to have quite a good run up, and therefore we've come a long way from the moving averages, and price always has to pull back to its averages eventually. And what I'll do is I'll use the lower time frames to try and see when I think that might happen. But for now, we've hit some kind of resistance. We're certainly showing signs of resistance there, especially with this month's candle so far being a small doji candle, and at some stage we'll be looking for a pullback to those monthly moving averages. Coming to the weekly chart, and I've left these lines on here from 2010, whereby in the most recent videos we'd identified this zone between 780 and 800 where we're expecting price to find resistance. And that was based on previous support and resistance levels on the chart, as well as that big number level from the monthly chart of 800. And what you'll see is exactly that has happened. We did get that rally up as we rallied up through the last few weeks of the year, and we got right up and we tested that 800 level. And now we've started to really find some resistance up there as expected. So now the question is, are we going to push up through this level, or are we going to push back on up through there and start to get up towards, if we start to think about where the next level of resistance is, it's going to be around 830. So if we can get up through here, we've got pretty much clear skies until 830 towards 850. It becomes another zone, 830 to 850 level. But for now the question is, will we get through 800? Let's come right down to a daily chart just for a moment. And you'll see that what's happened here is that price has now started to consolidate between 800 and 780, between these two zones. And what's happened here is that price has started to, it's come up, it's hit that level, and started to get quite uncertain. And what I mean by that is we've been sideways here for the last 5 days in a row or so. We've been up, we've been down, we've been up, had a small day, we've been down, but then we've rallied a little bit again towards the end of the day, just on Friday last week. It started to become quite uncertain, and this tends to happen at potential turning points. So if we come down to an even lower time frame again, I want to come down to a 4-hour chart and really show you the detail here of what's happening. So here's pretty much the last week's action. We've come up to 800, we've down, we've been up, we've been down, and now we've had quite a bullish candle again, rejecting down below 780. But you'll see that this zone which we identified last year of 780 up to 800 is the exact area where now we're not sure where the price is going next. It's consolidating around that zone. If we zoom out here on this 4-hour chart, just so we come right out, you'll see as well we've got this certainty up through here. We're in a good strong uptrend. We came up to resistance around about 700 and we went into this area of uncertainty where we're going sideways. We rallied again, and even though we had a good run up, good pullback, and we're in a really good certain trend in terms of the bulls were winning through here. We're making higher highs and higher lows, and each time we pushed up to new highs, we're making a higher high than the previous one. Each time we pulled back to new lows, it was a higher low than the previous low. But what happens now is we come up to another pre-identified resistance zone. We've come up here and we're not so sure anymore. In fact, we've put in some lower highs and some lower lows, but with some signs of bullishness thrown in there as well. And the question is really, what will happen here? So we're at a point of uncertainty, which we're agreed on here. The 4-hour chart is looking uncertain, the daily chart is looking uncertain, and that's where I'll come to these higher time frames to assess what I think is likely to happen. When it comes to this weekly chart, it's pretty simple for me. I'm expecting a pullback. We haven't had a pullback for long at all. We had one small pullback, and this was all the way back in mid-November, where we had this one little pullback into the 10-period moving average, then a push on up. I am now, even though I remain bullish in the longer term, I remain quite bullish on equities for 2011. I'm expecting a pretty decent pullback here. And the pullback might be back towards 740. That's kind of the first area where we've got this old high as well. So we've got some touches through there. I'm expecting a pullback at least towards 740. Maybe even back towards 700 for a decent pullback. When this, if we did get the bigger pullback towards 700, what you'll probably start to see reported in the press is from people who really just look at daily moves rather than bigger picture views. You'll probably start to hear some bearish press and people talking about highs in the market. I don't believe that will happen, even though I think that's probably coming, and be it, whether I'm right and it happens, soon, or whether it doesn't happen for a little bit longer. Each time you see a good pullback, like what we had back here, you start to see a lot of negative reporting around that. So I'm expecting some kind of a decent pullback. And we'll see some negative press, but I do believe that the market will push on in the longer term. So in the shorter term, as low I remain bullish, I'm expecting a pullback soon. I'm expecting at least a pullback to 740. That'll just be a nice small pullback, perhaps a bigger pullback to 700. Around about that level is where I'd start to get bullish. So at 740, I'll start to look for reasons to go long. If I don't see them, if I don't see signs of the price turning around there, I'd wait till 700, but I'll be very bullish around about that 700 level. Now that is a bigger picture view, in terms of that may not happen this week, it may not happen next week, it may not happen the week after. And you guys are after what I think will happen this week. So therefore, I would say this week, what I'm expecting is a move from around about 780 where we're at now to start drifting back towards the 740 level. That's my view for where I think we are heading this week. Let's have a very quick look at some of the cash indices as well, just see if these help make our decision any easier. If we come to the Dow, what we'll certainly see is just this overextension again. We're uptrending here on the Dow, and this is looking really bullish to me, having broken up through this major resistance and now pushing on, but just due a retracement. And coming here to the weekly chart on the Dow, we're due a pullback into around about this 11,1200 to 11,1250 level. That would just be a nice sensible pullback while continuing to make higher highs and higher lows and just alleviating a little bit of that buying pressure. Let's just quickly look at the Nasdaq as well. And on the Nasdaq, we had a very bullish day here last week where we rallied up, we tried to pull back and then just really pushed on strongly. But nonetheless, it doesn't change, especially here with the Nasdaq being the strongest of them all. It's coming up, it's broken this previous high now. We're a long way from its moving averages. It doesn't mean we're going to change trend, it just means we need a bit of a pullback. And I think back in towards this 2060 level, even back in towards the 2000 level, I think would be a really sensible pullback. So let me draw that lower line in there too. Pull back into that kind of zone would be sensible and actually a very positive sign for a move on to the upside for all of the major index markets here and for stocks in 2011. So just to summarize really my views for this week and then for the coming months, I'm looking for the index markets and therefore the Russell to be really pushing on this year, certainly in the first few months of this year until I see otherwise. But in the short term I have to remain quite cautiously bearish, and by cautiously I mean I'm expecting the markets to retrace to the downside, but I wouldn't be going too heavily short because it's very much counter the trend. Equities are very, very bullish. I don't really want to be shorting them. So that's what I mean. I'm cautiously bearish. I'd maybe take some very small short positions myself if the opportunity presents itself for a bit of a pullback towards these levels. But I'll start to get bullish at 740 and wait for a turnaround in the candles at that point, and I'd be very bullish down around the 700 level and be looking quite aggressively for any reasons to get long if we pull back that far. Happy trading all. I hope that helps, and I'm looking forward to a big year in 2011 for all of us.